This is Secret America.
Welcome, everybody. I am Jack Danger along with Jay Gatling, and this is our first episode on the Live from America TV network. Jay, how you doing today, man?
Doing awesome, Jack. So glad to be on this network. Proud to be here.
Me too, man. Why don't you go ahead and tell people a little bit about yourself before we get going?
Well, I'm a retired New York City and Port Authority of New York and New Jersey police officer, did 25 and a half years, 9/11 first responder, came on to X after I retired to finally be able to speak my true opinion and just been loving it. And just now we started doing this podcast together, which has been great. And now we're on the LFA TV. I mean, couldn't go any better. I'm just looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So real quick, before we get going, we actually wanted to recap some of the important things that we've actually exposed over the last few weeks for our new audience. We wanted to go over that. So the first thing we're going to talk about, obviously, is the Epstein files that came out. We actually have a way, and I don't know if everybody knows this, even at this point, I don't know if everybody knows this, but there is actually a way to unredact the Epstein files, the Adobe PDF versions that the DOJ put out. And it's weird because all you have to do is highlight the black bars, right? And you copy the black bars and then you paste them into a different Word document. And I'm going to show you real quick. There's a quick little video right here that shows you exactly what I'm talking about. Check this out.
Oh, look at this pesky redaction. Let's just get rid of that.
And you see right there how they were easily able to just, paste that right in there. And they made it very easy to just see exactly what was behind those black bars. I mean, Jay, that had to have been something that was done on purpose. We talked about this before. That's not something that the DOJ is just going to do by accident. I mean, it's just not possible. You're talking about the Department of Justice, the largest law enforcement agency in the world, yet they allow something so easily. And everything, by the way, Jay, and you know this too, every single thing that can be unredacted had to do with Donald Trump. And you can only unredact Donald Trump's name. You can unredact the words and obviously what happened, but you can only unredact his name. You cannot unredact any of the witnesses' names, Jay. And you know this, that had to be something that was done on purpose.
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings, and people will get used to it, is you can't be that bad by accident, especially if you're the FBI and the DOJ, who how many times we have to be so careful with these. That's why we can't put them all out right away. We don't want anybody's name that shouldn't be getting. We don't want people who are just in there to be lumped in with people that might have did you heard every excuse under the sun. And then it finally comes out and you could do this on your laptop. I mean, come on. Really? No, we're not buying it.
No, it's absolutely ridiculous. And that's why we know it kind of actually led us to how we found out about kind of how they wanted to get Donald Trump out, that we actually stumbled upon. It was something that we actually just stumbled upon, was their backup plan to remove Donald Trump from presidency had he won the 2020 election. Not only was it their backup plan now, but it's something that they're actually using to remove him. Or if they were to win the midterms in 2026, they're going to use this to remove him. And what that is every single one of these unredactable files, every single one of these things that you can unredact, again, has to do with Donald Trump, has horrible accusations about him. But Jay, every single one of them were right before the 2020 election. All the ones that you can unredact. I'm going to show you something right here. There's actually, different ones that you can see where it shows that he not only, they're trying to say he did all kinds of horrible things. And I want you to see some of these. I'm going to pull this up for you right here. Check this out right here. This is one of the things that they're trying to say. And this happened. Look at this. So this was on 10/9/2020. That's when they actually reported this, even though it happened in the year 2000. It says blank met Lisa at a hospital where they were roommates in the year 2000. That's when this happened. Okay. It says Donald Trump, the only name you can unredact right there, the only full name, Donald Trump had invited them all to a party at Mar-a-Lago, but they said it wasn't that kind of a party. It was a party for prostitutes. That's what they said. This was the allegation that happened, and it says blank hasn't spoken since 2002. Yet this was the allegation that was put in on October 9th, 2020, less than 2 months before the election. But there's one more that's even more, sickening, Jay, and I want you to see this. I want everybody to see this also. Check this out. Okay. This one right here actually says, and this was also, way back then, because it says Donald Trump, age 70, and, I don't even know how old he is now. He's in his 80s, I believe. So this happened, way back then. But get this. It actually says he participated regularly in paying money to force me to blank with him. And he was present when my uncle murdered my newborn child and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. These are the allegations that are in these horrible files that were all done. All of these allegations, even though they were 10, 20 years ago, were all written right before the 2020 election. That one that I just read was in August. All of them within 6 months of the 2020 election. That's how we know that was their backup plan to remove him had he won, Jay.
Listen, if these were actually real, and that's why he calls this a hoax, he doesn't articulate it the best way all the time, but that's why he's calling it a hoax. If these were real, don't you think they would have not had to do the Russia hoax, or the Ukraine perfect phone call hoax, or every other possible way, the 25th Amendment to get him out of office? If there was any legitimacy whatsoever to any of this nonsense, and it stands today, Jack, when they talk about it now, where are the files? He doesn't want to release it. If they had anything that was real in those files against Donald Trump, they would have been used years ago. That's just common sense. Am I wrong?
No, you better believe it. Of course it would have been used years ago. Not only that, but these things would have been used, they would have been put out, before the previous election, before the 2024 election, but they didn't even come out then. And that's when the Democrats had the presidency, but they still didn't come out, did they?
Jack, I'll argue before the 2016 election, if any of this stuff was real.
That's true. All these accusations supposedly happened, well over 10, 20 years ago. So it would have been before the 2016 election also. But at that time, they thought he had no chance, because not only did they say she had a huge chance, but they even cheated in that election, and he still won. That's how bad people hate the Democrats. And now their approval rating is absolutely in the toilet now. But the reason that we know that this is what they're going to use to remove him now if they win the midterms is because all of these documents are coming out now. They're all about Donald Trump. The only ones you can redact are about Donald Trump, and they're all horrible accusations. I mean, this is ridiculous. You're telling me Donald Trump was actually present when this lady's uncle murdered her newborn child and tossed it into Lake Michigan. That's what you're telling me. That's what these files are supposed to believe. And the DOJ, Pam Bondi, Donald Trump's DOJ released these having to know that they were unredactable, the Adobe PDF versions. And get this, even if they didn't know, which would be astronomically stupid, even if they didn't know, they would have known right away. They could have pulled them off the internet, whatever, but they didn't do that. So obviously this has something to do with some sort of plan to remove him. And the only way they can do that is right after the midterms, if they win.
It goes back to the saying, like with Tim Walz with the fraud. Either if you didn't know, that means you're too stupid to be where you are. And if you did know, then you're in on it. So either way, you're out. I mean, that's what we have to say at this point to somebody at the DOJ. Pam Bondi, listen, there's a lot of problems with Pam Bondi. This is just added to the list with Pam Bondi as to, disappointment and just failure and messaging failures and on and on and on. It's absurd. All this, Jack, it's the same game plan over and over. It's a smear. And it gets out into the ether, and people hear it, and it just soils the name, just like everything else they always do. E. Jean Carroll, a ridiculous story, right? But what happens? Get it into court, get it into the media, and some people, look what happens. George Stephanopoulos, he raped somebody. He got convicted of rape. It's a word game, and it's a smear. It's horrible.
That's exactly what it is. It's all semantics, and that's how we know that this had to be done on purpose. You can't do this kind of thing by accident. Like you said, you can't be that bad by accident. So that's obviously what we believe is going to be his plan, their plan to remove him right after the midterms. If they win the midterms, should they win them, we'll see what happens. But we want to move on to something else. Another thing that we exposed just a couple of weeks ago. Okay. And this is something that is actually very, very interesting. I want everybody to see this. Okay, so everybody knows, Jay, that COVID was scripted. You know, it was a scripted thing that the global cabal or whoever did in order to, well, for many things. One, to stop the 2020 election, get Donald Trump out of there. It was easier to get mail-in ballots, that kind of thing. But also for many other reasons, to test lockdowns, to see how obedient people would be, all different kinds of reasons, to roll out the vaccine. And, who knows what that's going to do to people in the future. Nobody knows the long-term effects. It's already causing turbo cancers, myocarditis, all kinds of things. So that was one thing. Everybody knows that it's scripted, but nobody has ever had real evidence that this thing is scripted. People have always said, oh yeah, it's definitely scripted. We know it's scripted. But again, like we said, nobody has ever had real evidence until now. We have something that is very, very interesting. And I want you guys to see this. Check this out, okay? Right here. This is a series of posts that was made on September 5th, 2019. That is about 4 to 6 months before COVID came out. It came out early 2020. I remember in March is when it really hit bad, because that's when I was watching the NBA. They stopped in the middle of the game and they canceled the whole season. So that's when it really got bad, Jay. But I want everybody to look at this. This was 4 to 6 months before COVID even came to America or even got started, period, because it got started in like January or December for China. Anyway, so listen to this. Okay, so his first post was 9 to 10 million Americans will be killed during 2020, 2021 in some kind of major event. He said, don't ask me how I know this. And just so you know, I believe that's either a Switzerland or a Swedish flag that he's got right there. That's where he's posting from. Okay, someone asked him a question and he said, no, I'm an operative. All right. Then the next post he says is do not. And again, all of these posts were done that same day, Thursday, September 5th, 2019. Then he says, do not accept any vaccines that would be released for a deadly virus in the winter of 2020. How unbelievable is that? The deadly virus came the next year. The vaccine was released in the winter of 2020. That's unbelievable. That's a year later is when that happened. But yet a year beforehand, he's telling you not to do that. Then it gets really crazy. He says it will originate from a pharmaceutical company working with military ops in a West Coast state. It will be accurately planted in major cities, and it will cause flu-like symptoms, which COVID did. And it may be deadly to elders and babies, which it was. Those were the most vulnerable. But the media will report it as deadly for everyone, which they did. They had the death counter and everything. But it's a hoax. The vaccine will be the real killer, packed with copious amounts of toxic metals. Is that not unbelievable? That everything he said is exactly what came to fruition. The man said he's an operative. I tend to believe him because everything he said, do not accept any vaccines that'll be released for a deadly virus in the winter of 2020. The vaccine is the real killer. Deadly for elder and babies, COVID, flu-like symptoms. I mean, Jay, that's unbelievable. He even says on the last post, I do not know any details of the actual genetics of the virus. Sorry, but I know they have tested it multiple times already, but in different brand names. That is unbelievable, Jay. Tell me what you think about this, because this is real. And actually, after Jay says something, after he says what he's going to say, I'm going to prove to you all that it is real. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible. And to have it that right, well, that's not an accident.
No, it can't be.
Can't be, right? So to have it that right, and like you said, we all knew, and my whole thing, this is to take out President Trump. He was sailing to a landslide victory in 2020 if this didn't happen. The economy was roaring. Everything was going great in that ministry. Even with all the nonsense they did against him, he was still flying. And this was the takeout plan. Plus, like you said, it was to test us to see how obedient, how compliant everybody would be. And I think, Jack, it worked way better than they thought it ever would. They got President Trump out of office with the mail-in ballots. They got people to comply. They got them not only to comply with masks, with 6 feet, all this nonsense that wasn't backed by anything. Nope. They also got them to comply with taking a shot, that vaccine that person says is going to be the real killer. And like you said, we'd have no clue yet as to what that has in store for people who've taken that vaccine and the boosters. I'm really frightened for the next 5-10 years in the future when it comes to that.
Oh, absolutely. We have no idea what it's going to do to people. The fact that this person, everything he said was right on point, and he said it months before any of this even started. And I'm going to prove to you guys right now that it's real. Take a look at this. This is Grok right here. I've already put in the post right there, and and you can see that it's the same thing. I'm going to say, are these posts authentic? Let's take a look and see what Grok has to say. Are these posts authentic? Come on, Grok. Shouldn't take you that long.
Oh, Grok thinks a lot, Jack.
Oh, look what he says right here. Yes, these posts are authentic. They originate from a real 4chan yada yada posted on September 5th, 2019. U.S. time. Timestamps align with early September 5th in some zones. These posts were made by an anonymous user, yada yada yada, yada yada yada. Just like Seinfeld says, yada yada yada. Exactly. 100% authentic. I mean, I want everybody to take a of it. Here, I'm gonna put it up real quick. Go ahead, take your screenshot of it, crop it, and then put it in any AI you want and ask if these posts are authentic. Ask if they actually happened on this time. Ask, and you will find the answer. They are 100% authentic, and either this guy was a time traveler, a genie, or COVID was scripted. You decide, Jay. I want you to be the decider.
I don't believe in genies. And I don't think time travel is possible yet, regardless of what Back to the Future. There's no flux capacitor invented yet that I'm aware of. So I'm going to say they're authentic. And he just, like you said, he's some kind of operative that got some information. And I'm going to throw out, these weren't mass posts, and that we'll get to that too, because that goes with one of our next stories. Yeah. These weren't just mass posts where he, picked out no.
It's not first of all, that's not possible. It would have to be thousands. I mean, there's thousands of different scenarios. He would have to have posted thousands of posts and then deleted them. It's just not possible. It's not possible.
Exactly.
As much as people would like to think that. So right there, I want you guys to screenshot that, put it in Grok, show it to everybody you want. That is proof that COVID was scripted. I'm sorry, you can say what you want, but that is actual tangible proof that COVID was scripted. I mean, it is what it is. So we're going to move on to the next thing because, we feel we've proved that one, just like we proved that, the Democrats have a plan to remove Trump after the 2026 midterms. And it has to do with Trump's own DOJ, which he cannot trust, just like he couldn't trust Bill Barr back in the 2016 to 2020 range. I don't think he can trust Pam Bondi either. Let me tell you why. First of all, she doesn't seem to arrest any of the Democrats. Second of all, the Democrats don't have a bad thing to say about her. And let me tell you, if the Democrats don't have a bad thing to say about you, you are definitely a dirty person. Because, I try to be unbiased as I can. But it's hard to be unbiased because unbiasedism looks like right wing, because right wing is common sense and truth. So it looks like it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, Jay.
I always say, one of my favorite sayings, common sense finds common ground. That's a popular thing on this show, right? Common sense finds common ground. And Jack and I will disagree on certain things. We agree on a lot, obviously, but we'll disagree on certain things. But we're always coming back to common sense at the end of the day. And what's funny? You say that no Democrats have anything bad to say about Pam Bondi. Maybe they should play this a little better and just put a couple of bad things out about her once in a while.
That's good.
Because you're right. Compared to everybody else in the Trump administration who they roasted or try to roast anyway on a daily, they never, it's true. So maybe once in a while, just to keep us honest, maybe they should say something bad about Pam Bondi. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they definitely should. We're going to move on to the next thing here. So the next thing we got for you is something that's also people thought was impossible, but it's something that we also found. We found possible evidence that the NFL scripts some of its games, including Super Bowl 50, which was the Broncos versus the Panthers. Excuse me. Right here, we're going to go ahead and put up another series of posts. I want you to check this out, okay? This is the first series. First, look at the bottom post. In X, the posts go up as they are more, recent, okay? So at the bottom post, this is NFL is rigged. It's at NFL_is_scripted, and his name is NFL rigged, okay? All of these posts were made between February 1st through February 4th, 2016. This man posted this and then disappeared. You never hear from him again. But check this out. His first post is, we have found evidence that the NFL creates scripts for how some of their games should go. Here's what will happen in Super Bowl 50. So take a look at that. He is actually, and he's giving you like the scores and what's going to happen, on not only the scoring plays, but in order. And in order for that to happen, in order for those to be, he would have to do, in order for him to do like the mass texting, like people try to say.
Yeah, the mismatches, the mismatches. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It would take thousands and thousands. I mean, it just wouldn't be possible. You know what I mean? It would take thousands of different posts for that to be, just like that. So what I'm going to do here, actually, I'm going to put up the scoring plays from ESPN, and I'm also going to put up, from his post. So here's what we're going to look at first. All right, first, and you can see his post right there. So that's actually perfect because we're going to be able to do it just like this. All right, so first you see his post. He puts Broncos kick a field goal, and then Denver returns a fumble for a touchdown. Those are the first two scoring plays he says, right? Okay, so underneath right here, what is the first scoring play? It says Broncos, McManus field goal. That was the first scoring play. Second scoring play says Malik Jackson fumble recovery in the end zone for the Broncos. So the first two plays he got correct and he got them in order. He got them correct and he got them in order. Let's check out the rest of them. So the next plays is Carolina rushes for a touchdown. And then the Broncos hit a field goal. So what's the next play? Right there, Jonathan Stewart, 1 yard rushing touchdown. Very next play, Broncos, field goal. I mean, is this not the most incredible thing you've ever seen? Then let's go on and finish it out, all right? So here, he's got the Broncos hit another field goal, then the Panthers hit a field goal, and then the Denver rushes for a touchdown. Look at that. So we got Broncos hit the field goal, Panthers hit the field goal, and Denver rushes for the touchdown. And guess what? He says the final score, 24-10. What is the final score there, Jay?
That's 24-10.
24-10. That is, I mean, the odds of that are astronomically unbelievable. But look at these posts, okay? These were done right here. It says the last post for the scores and the scoring plays was February 3rd, 2016. All right, February 3rd, 2016. I want everybody to see real quick when the Super Bowl was. All right, right here it says Super Bowl, February 8th, February 7th, excuse me. This is February 8th. This is an article at 1:54 a.m. on February 8th. The Super Bowl was February 7th, 2016. February 7th, Jay. But yet this guy wrote all these posts from February 1st to February 3rd after saying that he's got scripts of games that can prove that the NFL actually scripts their games. After saying that, he does this. This is what he does. This is what he shows. And I mean that's unbelievable. You can't get the odds of that happening. I actually asked Grok, what are the odds of him guessing every single play correctly, every single scoring play, what the scoring play was going to be, what team it was going to be for, the order of them, and then the final score? Grok said it was 1 in trillions that he could guess that. 1 in trillions that he could guess that. But real quick, Jay, before I let you talk, and I want you to talk about this because this is incredible. I want to prove to everybody again that these are 100% authentic. I am going to pull up. All right, so I've got, here's the first one right here. I'm going to go ahead and share this tab right here and pull it up. All right, here's the first one right here. All right. And it says, and I'm going to say, are these posts authentic? Are these posts authentic? Let's see what Grok has to say about this. Come on, Grok. Don't leave me hanging here. All right, check this out. Yes, these posts are authentic. They were made by the ex-Twitter account NFL is scripted display name NFL is rigged in early February 2016, just before the Super Bowl. It says during. That's a lie. Every post was made February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It says right there the posts were made February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. How in the world could that be during the? He's an idiot. Grok is sometimes just not bright. But let me tell you right now that this is 100% the truth. These posts are 100% authentic. In fact, I'm going to ask real quick. I'm going to show the other one because there's two of them. The two ones that I showed you. I'm going to ask if these are authentic. Are these posts authentic? Let's go ahead and ask Grok real quick. Are these posts authentic? Because I don't want people to think we're snowing them. I don't want them to think that we're lying to them and that this is any kind of BS. We're trying to prove a point here that these things could very well be scripted. And here you go again. Check it out. Yes, these posts are authentic, leading up to and referencing Super Bowl 50. The account posted a series of scripted predictions. And look, these match the exact content and dates from the original posts, and it tells you all about it. Look at this. The predictions were eerily accurate. The final score was 24. Let me ask Grok, what are the odds? What are the odds he could have guessed all of this? Guessed all of this correctly. I just want to see what he says, Jay. I'm interested to hear what Grok says because go ahead.
No, let's see it. I want to see the number. I want to see what the odds are for this. You have a better chance of hitting Powerball, probably.
Well, I can tell you that Grok today seems to be taking his sweet time. Let me just tell you that the last time we did this, Grok said in the trillions. And I don't know, Grok, I don't know what the heck's Grok's doing here. He's searching the web. Maybe he'll finally. All right, here we go. What does he say here? What are the odds? Let's see. The NFL counted for us the probability breakdown. Yada yada yada. I don't know. He's got okay. So he says the combination probability, 1 in 10 to 100 million or lower. 1 in 10 to 100 million. Okay, it says here we go. The odds of guessing all or even most of this correctly by pure chance are vanishingly small. In the order of 1 in millions or tens of millions. I mean, let's just call it what it is. There's no way that he guessed these, Jay. It didn't happen. He had to have had some sort of script because all of this happened, a week before the Super Bowl, and then he disappeared. He disappeared, Jay. We never heard from him again. So he wasn't doing it for money or fame.
No, well, remember now, there was also that post he made tagging all of those outlets.
Let's show everybody what you're talking about. Go ahead, Jay.
Then I have a counter. I'm going to try to be devil's advocate, but I'm going to disprove myself. But go ahead.
Okay. So here he actually has a post, and this is not a post that everybody can see. If you go to his account, this is a post that only the people that are tagged can see. New York Times, LA Times, ESPN, Yahoo Sports, Fox Sports, CBS Sports, and we were able to get this screenshot from someone in the know. And it says, I would appreciate it if you could investigate our findings. And he didn't make that public because he didn't want to disappear, but he ended up disappearing anyway. Jay, go ahead.
Okay. So that's interesting right there, of course. But when people are going to come and say, no, he mismatched text, he did it all, he put all those plays in, and during the game, boom, he deleted. How difficult that is, number one. Number two, where are the screenshots of those other posts? You're telling me that nobody would have taken screenshots of all those posts if they were in fact ever there? That's impossible to me. It's just as impossible of him, as much as an impossibility of him guessing those plays right. Everybody screenshots stuff like that when they see it to say, wait a minute, this guy's running some kind of game. It can't be, right? Am I wrong in that?
No, not only that, but if you ask Grok, he'll tell you that it wasn't a mass deletion operation.
And right, they have no proof of it. Nobody's ever proven that this was one of those operations, which might have happened in the past. Grok will say, yes, it's been done before, blah, blah, blah. Nobody could prove that this was one of them. I think the Daily Mail tried to run this down and came up with no proof that this was one of those operations. So listen, right. We just presented you with a bunch of evidence, a bunch of, legit stuff. You decide. And guess what? Everybody I've ever watched football with, Jack, this is rigged. This is rigged. There's no way this is real. How the hell did that just happen? There's no, right? So, hey, don't tell me that this can't be real when you're the guy or the girl who you've watched the game with your favorite team and something ridiculous happened for them to lose or win a game where you said, there's no possible way that just happened organically. No way. So don't tell me this isn't a possibility.
No, you're right. And it's absolutely a possibility. And it is what happened. It's exactly what happened because, I mean, we just showed the proof. Grok said it's authentic. It's not a mass deletion operation. The odds of him being able to guess this are just astronomical. So that's got to prove something to someone. I mean, the common sense person would know that, NFL at least scripts some of their games. This person didn't do it for fame or fortune. He disappeared after this. He actually asked for an investigation into this, and then he disappeared. He never when we found these posts, he had 40 followers and he followed nobody. After we did our first expose on this, he had over 5,000 followers. If you go to his account now, NFL_is_scripted, he has over 5,000 followers now, and he never even, he hasn't posted since February 4th, 2016. So, that tells you all you need to know. So, this is just a recap of what we've done in the last few weeks. We exposed the Democrats' plan to oust Trump after the midterms. We exposed COVID as being scripted, and now we've exposed the NFL as having some of their games scripted. We're not saying all of them. Why would they script all games? But what they can script is the games that really matter. I'll tell you that much. And Super Bowl 50 really mattered, Jay.
Every Super Bowl, right, matters more than anything, right? It's the big one. But I'll just say this to our new audience on LFA TV. If anybody knows that NFL is rigged, please find them and tell them to get in contact with us.
We've been trying to get him to reach us, jdanger@journalist.com. Please email us. We'd be happy to bring you on. We'll scramble your voice. We'll black out your face, whatever you want to do. We just want to know how you got this. And, we just want to know how you got this. And, if there's more, if you know any more stuff about this, if you know anything else about it, we really are interested and want to know, Jay.
Absolutely. So there you go. It's out there. If you know them, get them to us, please.
All right, so that was a great recap of what we've done the last few weeks, but now let's recap what we did yesterday and the day before. Jay, my co-host here, Jay Gatling, was on location in Ohio. I believe it was Columbus, Ohio. He was on location in Columbus, Ohio with several others, and he was actually investigating the same fraud that they did in Minnesota. Nick Shirley investigated that fraud. They were doing the same thing, the Somali, daycare, childcare type fraud. And Jay, why don't you tell them a little bit about it? Tell them what happened.
Well, we went out there. I went in and met Walter Kurt, and then Chad Caton hooked up with us, and Mahek Cook. I spent the 2 days with them, and we were just driving around to different, and actually hooked up with another team for a little bit, which included John Rocker.
John Rocker, yeah, John Rocker.
He was going around with a few people, and it was a good time. But at the same time, we had our head on a swivel because people would come out and maybe get violent with you. The first place we roll up on, and we kind of found it by accident. It was called Jubba Daycare, and we go up to it, and I look at him like, this is the Holy Grail. I just said it as soon as we rolled up on it. It was the first place that we go to, and it turned out really being kind of the Holy Grail, kind of like the poster child of what's going on in Columbus, Ohio, with these child cares, with these daycares. Mm-hmm. The place looks run down. It's dilapidated. It looks like a dive bar, and a lot of them do, and they're all not. It's not compliant with inspections. If you read these inspection reports, they're very detailed. Broken glass in the playground, urinary smells inside, light sockets not covered, some of their staff not background checked. It's insane, but these places are still open. So we walk up, Mahek Cook and Chad Caton walk up to that place, and immediately the door was unlocked. So she knocked, and then she pulled the door open. As soon as she pulled that door open, somebody came out. If you go on to all of our, if you go on to my X, you'll find it at Opinions Vary on X, and they come out and he's get back, and he pushes her out. He literally assaults her. So the police get involved. So she called the police, and the police tell us, Jack, we've been to this place, because around the front of this place, Jack, is like a bad location. There's a camera they have set up. The cops have a camera set up. There's drugs. There's all kind of nefarious stuff going on. And they're like, yeah, we know that place. And by the way, we never see any kids there.
Is that the place that was right next to a bar?
It was no. One
of the ones that you investigated was literally connected to a bar.
Oh, geez. I don't even, Jack, we saw
so many. Bar. It was the one where the Somali woman, the one that went viral that we put out on the Secret America page.
Yeah. That was in a strip mall. Yeah, that was that strip mall.
It was connected to a bar.
That was in a strip mall. Yep. And the one that yelled at us. And then yesterday, another person yelled at us. But what's going on is that there's daycares everywhere.
Mhm.
Every square, I mean, every eighth of a mile. Sometimes there's one. We had one right next door. One daycare, another daycare. Go down the block, another daycare, strip club, daycare. I mean, it is incredible. That itself is a red flag. And some of these places appear to be legit. We exposed that side of the story too, where a couple of the owners of these places let us in and would speak to us because they said, listen, we're trying to do everything right. We don't like the fraud either. It's putting a stain on us. So if there's people that are committing fraud, we have no problem with those people being prosecuted. That's great.
Mhm.
But there seems to be a lot out there, Jack, where there's just no kids. There's a lot of stuff. We had a person tell us they backdate when kids come in. So they're going back. So wait a minute. It's all about numbers because the more kids you have, I guess the more money you get. But let me get back to that Jubba daycare real quick. That place in fiscal year 2025 to 26 has already received $155,000. It's received millions over the past few years. And you see what the place looks like. Where's the money going? Where is this money going? There's no way you're telling me your overhead is almost $1 million. It's impossible. Go ahead.
Well, it's not just that. As we all know, obviously the politicians, they do this as a way to line their own pockets, and I'm going to prove it. There's something that just recently happened, actually, that I wanted to show everybody here too, and it's going to prove that they're really ramping it up too, especially in communist New York City. Now, we have to say communist New York City because it's a communist who runs it now. But check out what he just said earlier today. I want you to check this out right here.
Not only when we make pre-K truly universal, but expand this care to include all 2- and 3-year-olds across the city. As the governor said, we will deliver to care by working in partnership with childcare providers, especially home-based providers.
What he just said right there, especially home-based providers. We are going to give billions of dollars for universal health care and home-based providers. Why? They are the hardest to track. They're the hardest to keep books and ledgers and all these other things. They're the hardest to tell, go find them. For one thing, it is the easiest way to launder money. And I've said this before, 50 cents of every tax dollar that Americans spend, whether it's sales tax, whether it's income tax, is taken by fraud. Okay. And I'm not talking about just Somali daycare fraud. I mean, there's Somali healthcare fraud. There's all kinds of frauds. But then there's frauds. Put it like this. Take the Somali daycare fraud and healthcare fraud, times that by probably, and let's say at least half the states out of America, 25 states, times it by that, times it by another 20 races, because every race is doing this because it's the politicians that set this up. Not the politicians themselves, but the people that are under them set this up for them as a way to launder money back to their campaigns. As a way, I mean, you got to think, does Lindsey Graham really get 30, 40, 50, $100 million? Who the hell is going to donate to Lindsey Graham? Let's be real. If we're going to be real, I'm being real. Who the hell is going to donate to Lindsey Graham? Nobody. But I can guarantee you there's a lot of Smurf donations coming his way. I can guarantee you there's $40,000 or $50,000 or $40,000 or $50,000, $2, $3 donations here and there from people that you've never heard of that are coming his way. And it's probably all has to do with taxpayer money that was stolen and laundered. I mean, it happened with Ukraine. We were sending, all right, put it this way. Say we sent $500 million to Ukraine, right? Ukraine would take half of that money, $250 million, and give it to Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX. FTX would then run that money through their business and donate it back to the Democrats. It was a circle. The Democrats vote for Ukraine funding. Ukraine gives half to FTX. FTX gives it right back to the Democrats. So Ukraine does this because they get half the money. Why do you think all the Ukraine politicians have, big houses and Bentleys? Because they are given half the money in order to launder the other half back to the Democrats. You really think Democrats with an approval rating of 15% are going to have hundreds of millions of dollars in donations? It's not going to happen. All of this stuff goes right back to this. This is the starting point. The Somali daycare fraud is the starting point of where the Democrats and other politicians, some Republicans too, get their donations given back to them through one of the most corrupt organizations in America, Act Blue.
Yep. Yeah. I was going to say Act Blue. Right. And you're right. Somebody's setting up these LLCs, these 501s. They're setting it up for these people. They don't know how to do that. They're setting it up. And every single social, what I just heard from them, Donnie, all I heard, you know what I heard? Money laundering, theft, fraud.
They're happy to do it because they know they're going to get their money.
This is it every single time. All of these social programs, every single one of them is just set up for fraud. It is set up for laundering. It is set up for that purpose and that purpose only. They don't care about kids. They don't care about any of the stuff these programs stand for. They always come up with some nice name for it, but it's for one reason only. It's to line their pockets. That's what it's there for. And in Ohio with Mike DeWine, that's a red state. But Mike DeWine, I call him everything's fine DeWine.
Yeah.
Because Mike DeWine was saying, last week, there's nothing, it's part of doing business. We have good safeguards in place. You haven't even driven to Columbus, Ohio, Governor DeWine, because like I said, if you did, just the amount of daycares in one area would be a red flag to you. So everything's fine DeWine. It's not fine. And I think an audit came out yesterday, Jack, and it was a separate audit. Somebody did an audit, and they said within 2 hours, they found $20 million worth of fraud already in daycare in Columbus. That's in 2 hours. It's probably in the hundreds of millions. I can't wait to see what happens. There was one place, and I'll say it real quick, Jack. It was called CERC, Somali Educational Resource Center. It received, since 2016, $42 million. We had to go to 4 different addresses. We finally find it. It's in the 3rd floor of a building owned by the United States military. Now, we get up to the 3rd floor. The last door we could possibly go to, Jack, there it is. The most expensive thing on the door was the security system with the ring cam. Now, we knock the middle of the day on a Tuesday. No answer. You guys can go to my page. I stick my phone through the mail slot. It looks like it's dark. There's a couple of seats and a couple of pictures on the wall. We're $14 million last year and $42 million over the past 10 years. What's going on here? And Walter Kurt and a couple other people are going to run that one down. They're trying to, and they'll get to the bottom of it.
Oh yeah. There's a lot going on. Real quick before we continue, I just wanted to say you can see us. Our show is obviously at Secret America TV on X, and then I'm at Jack Danger Live. He's at A Pinions Vary, all on X. Those are our main pages. But real quick, I wanted to. There's 2 more things about this fraud before we switch to the next subject. There's 2 more things about this fraud I wanted to talk about. One, I'm going to tell you another thing why I know that the Democrats love Pam Bondi. You know how many criminal referrals have been made to her and nobody's been charged with anything? I'm going to give you another one today. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison were just criminally referred to the Department of Justice for investigation and prosecution for being complicit in fraud. But I can promise you, I can almost guarantee that there will not be any charges and probably not even an investigation. But that's not even the worst of it. Let me tell you something else that's going on. Well, first of all, that's why Mamdani that's why he just announced this multi-billion-dollar universal child care program, because he knows that it doesn't matter if there's a criminal referral. They're not going to get in trouble. There's not going to be any investigations. He knows that. And that's why nothing's happening. But let me tell you something even more egregious, Jay. Get this, okay? Right now, there was a Somali man in Maine, in the state of Maine. He was just indicted on fraud, theft, and illegal firearm possession. You want to know what happened to him? He was sworn in on Maine City Council today. He is pending charges for fraud, illegal firearm possession, and theft. And he was just sworn in as a Maine city councilman.
Well, Jack,
Somali man.
He's got the magic letter, D. The letter D.
It's incredible. It's like just like James Bond had the license. It's like a license to steal.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's going on in Minnesota, where Nick Shirley found that gentleman, his name was David, who's been doing this investigation in Minnesota for years. Nick Shirley finds him. How is it possible that nobody else, the FBI couldn't find him forever?
He's contacted all of them, by the way. That guy, before Nick Shirley found him, he contacted every single one of them for years.
So what Nick Shirley did, and kudos to him, Nick Shirley didn't walk into Minnesota and trip over that guy. Nick Shirley just, I'm going to talk to him.
Yeah. That's all anybody had to do. That's all you had to do. You could have been famous if you just went and talked to Dave. That's all you had to do.
That's it. All right. So the FBI was already in Minnesota. They were in there. You know, that's how this all came to light, where they made some arrests. They had 70-something convictions. But wait a minute, you never talked to David? And now we're talking in the billions of dollars in fraud. Why did the FBI not talk to David? Jack. Now Mike DeWine, it's the same thing. And again, this is a red state. Mike DeWine. Well, everything's fine, DeWine. No, this isn't breakage. It's not the cost of doing business. It's my money, guy. That's my money. I'm a federal taxpayer. They're Ohio citizens that are state taxpayers. That's not your money. That's not breakage for you in your personal business. How dare you? How dare you? And we are sick and tired of it. We are so sick and tired of it. And Jack, if we could root out this fraud in this country, I don't think we have to pay taxes ever again.
No. That's the thing. Like I said, in fact, if we rooted out fraud altogether, we could cut taxes in half across the board, every single possible tax in half, and never have to raise them. But see, that's not going to happen. And I'm going to tell you why, because all of this fraud goes back to the people that have the power in this country. Okay. How do you think that all these programs that are fraught with fraud are getting this money? They're getting it because the politicians control the purse strings of Congress. And the politicians control the federal money. And then the state politicians control the state money. And if you know you're going to get a piece back, if you know you're going to get some good money back, and you know you're not going to get in trouble for it, and nobody else is going to get in trouble for it, why the hell not get you a free $10-20 million a year? Why not? Let the taxpayer, you're paying taxes? Screw it. I'll take all your money. They don't care. And let me tell you why. Because power attracts people that have psychopathic tendencies, psychopathy. And it's because it's more of a power breeds power kind of thing. You know, it's one of those things that gives you, like, you know, greed and envy and jealousy. All the 7 deadly sins are built up in power. What does power want, Jay? It wants more power. That's exactly what it wants. And that's why it attracts those types of people. Even the people that you think are the best people in the world are sometimes, you know, the people that are actually doing things behind closed doors. But speaking of, since we were talking about Minnesota, we've got about 13 minutes left. I want to talk about the shooting that happened in Minnesota, because I have my own personal opinions on this. And, you know, my opinions are probably not going to be the same as yours, Jay, because I know you like to see things from a law enforcement perspective. I like to see things from all angles. And I have I'm sure I have a different perspective than you. So why don't you tell me your opinion of what happened in this whole ICE Minnesota thing real quick?
Okay, so first of all, let me start here. I did a video and I posted it last night, Jack. I did a video December 16th on Minnesota and with the operations with ICE. And I said in this video, it was a video of people swarming around them, blowing whistles, trying to jump on their back when they were placing somebody under arrest. And none of these people are getting arrested. I said, wait a minute, you need zero tolerance for this stuff, because something bad is going to happen. You're not allowed to interfere with lawful arrest. Whether you like what's going on or not, ICE is acting lawfully, enforcing laws. So you don't get to obstruct them. So this needed to be nipped a long time ago. President Trump needed to invoke the Insurrection Act in a couple of cities a while ago, and he didn't. And now we have this. So I hate it when I'm right sometimes. Now, let's get to this incident. You had this woman who apparently was the ringleader of this group, who was basically following ICE all over the place. And I'm just going to get right to the incident. Would I have wanted to put myself in front of that vehicle? Absolutely not. He ended up in front of that vehicle. And here's the thing. She tried to run him over. Now,
did she?
What's that?
Did she try to run him over?
Yes, I think she did. I think listen, close enough for me. And apparently, you see the tires spinning. If that ground wasn't a little icy, I think she would have taken him out.
They were turned all the way to the right. I will say that.
So it grazed him at the very least. And he made a split-second decision, and he went through the windshield. Didn't go through the window. You see the bullet hole in the windshield. Went through the windshield.
But do you know why he did that?
Well, what do you mean? Why did what?
Do you know what happened to him previously, just a month ago?
Oh, yeah, he was running. Yeah, they tried he was rammed. Wasn't he rammed?
He was hit by another car by an illegal. And then I personally think this had to do with a PTSD situation. He sees this happening again and he freaks out.
Absolutely. That could absolutely be the case. And you know what, Jack? Here's my thing. I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't have been on the street.
He should not have been. No, not just a month or so after a very traumatic situation where he almost died, by the way, after being hit by that illegal in that car. He shouldn't have been. He was in the exact same situation 30 days later. No.
Well, and again, I hate Monday morning quarterbacking, especially law enforcement, because I know how that feels.
Yeah, I know. But
I don't want you in front of a vehicle when somebody's behind the wheel, especially when you know it's somebody that's unhinged.
Let me tell you something, Jay.
She's unhinged. Go ahead. Let me hear your take. I think it's a good shoot. I think it's a good shoot. They're going to try to burn him at the state level. Donald Trump has to back him to the hilt. In fact, double down on ICE enforcement. That's how I see it. Go ahead.
Let me tell you right now that I am pro police. I am pro ICE. I'm pro every law enforcement agency, if you want the truth, except for some of the corrupt ones that you see out there. Oh my God, there's some local corrupt ones, not really federal.
Jack, let me say this. Nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So let me give you some perspective here, okay? Yes, he was in that, he was hit by a car in the line of duty, just a few months ago. I thought it was 30 days ago. I think it was more like a few months ago. But anyways, he shouldn't have been in this kind of situation so soon after that, because he almost died and it was a very traumatic situation. Now you can see her wheels turn to the right. As he's there, her wheels are all the way to the right. She's not going forward. She's trying to turn to the right. And he can sidestep that car anytime he wants. In fact, let me read you the DOJ use of force policy. All right. The DOJ, and he is under the DOJ. He is supposed to abide by their policies. They are the ultimate, law enforcement agency. So the Department of Justice use of force policy strictly limits action against fleeing suspects in cars, prioritizing public safety and generally prohibiting deadly force solely for escape prevention. But that's not the whole thing. I want you to hear this. Deadly force cannot be used solely to prevent a fleeing suspect's escape. Firearms should not be discharged at a moving vehicle unless someone is inside is threatening with deadly force, not just the vehicle itself. Or if the vehicle is being used to create an imminent danger of death or serious injury, and there are no other means of defense, such as moving out of the way. That is the DOJ official policy.
Okay, let me respond. That if getting out of the way is a judgment call. Okay.
Come on, man.
Hold on. He didn't think he can get out of the way. That's why he made that decision, a split-second decision.
Well, then anybody can say that. You might as well not have a policy then. I can say anything I want to say. He was at the edge of the car, man.
But listen, that policy you read is pretty standard policy for pretty much every law enforcement agency.
There you go. So he should know that.
Of course. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because that's just what I'm going to do.
I know.
He made a split-second decision, and he's going to have to live with that decision, regardless of whether he gets charged, regardless of what happens over here. He's going to have to live with the decision he made, and somebody lost their life. We don't have to agree with that person, but we're not that way, right? Somebody lost a life, and that's always a horrible thing. But he's now has to live with that. Now we'll see, Jack. Minnesota is going to try to burn him. I think Donald Trump and the federal, the Trump's DOJ isn't going to try to burn him. They better back him up, because if they don't, Jack, you're going to see ICE officers quit in droves.
I'm going to tell you exactly what I think should happen here. One, he's got to be suspended. I'm sorry, he's got to be suspended pending investigation. That's routine protocol.
But yeah, even if he's not suspended, you take his gun and you say
or
you're on death duty.
administrative leave, whatever you want to call
restricted. You're on restricted duty and pending the
death
investigation.
duty, whatever you want to call it.
He absolutely is. I guarantee it. Go ahead.
But so he needs to do that, but also he's got to have counseling, because I think that what he had there was a PTSD thing right there. He could have, I mean, he was at the edge of that car, and her wheels were turned right. She was trying to go right. You can all see it on the video. Her front wheels, it's a front wheel drive vehicle. Her front wheels were turned right. She was trying to turn right. She was not trying to hit this man. And the man was right in front of the vehicle where she couldn't avoid it even turning right. He could have sidestepped that car and let her go, and they could have arrested her down the road. Instead, this PTSD, I guarantee you, his last thing where he was hit by a vehicle came into play here. And he pulled his gun because he was scared. Now, do I think that he was right? Oh, and Levi here, we got a comment asking, why didn't she just stop? Because she was fleeing. She was trying to flee. She wasn't trying to hit the man. She wanted to leave.
Stop fleeing.
He was on the right side of the vehicle, and you cannot, first of all, you cannot kill a person for fleeing. And second of all, when the person is on the right side of the vehicle, like I said, he could have easily stepped out of the way and let her go on her way. Instead, he waited, and he drew his gun, and that tells you right there, he had to have shot her before he was hit. He had to have shot her before he was hit. That tells you that the PTSD is what caused all of this. His previous encounter, being hit by a vehicle just a short few months ago, is what caused this. Now, I don't think he should be arrested. I think he should be put on administrative leave and be given severe counseling. And I do think whoever allowed him on duty should be relieved of duty.
Well, here's how these things, just from my experience.
And real quick, Deb, she had been bothering them all day. That is not an excuse for killing her. Go ahead.
Hold on. That's a different issue. That's a separate issue, regardless if he was bothering him all day or not. Now, I want to know, was he medically cleared? Did he receive counseling after that last incident?
I want to know that. Yes.
We would need to know. Jack, what you're doing, though, honestly, is you're giving him a great defense, is what you're doing. Your take on this, as far as the PTSD, if I'm his lawyer, I'm running with that.
Yeah, but I'm thinking the person above him is the one that should be in trouble, not him.
There is going to be a thorough investigation into this, all up and down the line, to see what happened from the last incident, who did he speak to, if he was in fact counseled, who cleared him, what did that counseling entail. There's going to be a lot of review.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a big one.
Now, you articulate that your life was in danger. You made a split-second decision, and this could be justified. I'm just telling you right now.
No, you're right. It could be, but Minnesota is going to try to fry him.
And police officers and law enforcement do get more leeway under the law than civilians.
Not in Minnesota. That's not going to happen. You heard what Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, said. He actually said the F word twice. He said, "Get the F out of here," and all this.
Screw him. He's Jack. He caused this.
I know. Oh, no, he absolutely caused this, and he's going to cause whatever riots happen out there now. But I'm telling you right now, this man, if he does go to trial, will not get a fair trial in Minnesota.
Bingo. He won't. And this goes back, and I know we only have a couple of minutes left. Amadou Diallo, people, look it up, 1999, Amadou Diallo, NYPD, 41 shots. Google it. They never got a fair trial, and the word murder was thrown around day one. And guess what happened? The trial got moved out of New York City into Albany, and they were rightfully acquitted by an Albany jury, where they never would have been acquitted in a New York City jury. So if they want to keep throwing words like murder, it's not murder. He didn't go out to kill anybody that day, Jack. That's my point. So let them keep with this talk, and we'll talk about this again, because this is just getting started.
But what Mamdani said really, really irked me, man. I mean, that really pissed me off, because this guy at the most he was guilty of, manslaughter maybe, but it was really a PTSD thing. I don't think anybody should go to jail for this. I think the person who, if he was cleared for duty, the person that cleared him should maybe lose their job. That's what I think, because this all definitely had to do with a PTSD situation. I mean, he saw this and he's thinking, you know what? I don't want to be in the same situation I was in months ago where I almost died. I'm going to draw my gun and stop it before it happens. That's what happened. But let me tell you, What? Go ahead. While I'm
No, I
looking
think
for this.
we
Go
have a
ahead.
civil lawsuit here, Jack. This is not a criminal. This is not a criminal trial. It should never go to a criminal court. A civil court, absolutely. Have at it.
Oh yeah, no. It should be a civil lawsuit, but I do think the person above him should lose their job. And I just wanted to find it real quick before we go, but I can't see. There he is. Okay, Mamdani said this morning an ICE agent murdered a woman in Minneapolis. Only the latest horror in a year full of cruelty. That is sickening, Jay. Sickening.
It's Fry's fault. It's Waltz's fault. It's all of their fault with their rhetoric. They caused this. They own it.
They absolutely do. And, we have to go, but I wanted to thank everybody for watching us here on our first network show with Live from America TV. Jay and I really appreciate it. Everybody for watching us. Thank you so much. We're going to be doing this every Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. I'm Jack Danger. He's Jay Gatling. Thank you for watching Secret America.
You've been listening to Secret America.